This Thursday morning, excited to have some special guests here in the studio. We got Matt Kearney here and Garrett. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Feeling good. I know it's like a little early for performing, but
hey, it's awesome. I woke up in my own bed, brought my favorite guitar. It's really fun being in your hometown.
Yeah, I know you mentioned when you came in here that it's like very different coming like right from your house to the studio, which I honestly, it's funny because I feel like people must think that a lot, but I've never really thought about that with people coming in who are used to this being like part of tour instead of just home life.
Yeah, you got to like get in game mode. I was in pajamas. Yeah. My wife was like, "Can you get up early with our kids?" You know, and I'm like, "I got to do radio, babe. This is a serious day."
Hey, you can show up in your pajamas. Yeah. That's fine. We're casual around here. I guess we are on video also, but you know, show the people. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, which also I should mention, you can check out our video streaming right now, volume.com/lightning100. So really excited to have you in today. I was talking to Lieutenant Dan before you got here, and like we were talking about, you know, you I think used to be a barista like right across the street from the radio station back like way back in.
That is right.
Yeah,
yes.
When we were at our old studio downtown. And you've just had like so much history with us, so it's cool to like have you here and see you still coming by and doing great.
That's right. I used to sling the lattes for the Lightning 100 crew. That was my last job, actually. So and it was right next to the Ryman, which was like, I don't know. We're playing there this.
Yeah, how full circle is that?
I know. It's one of the most pinch yourself moments that being here in Nashville. It always reminds me of that.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, I didn't really think about it being so close to the Ryman, but that's so cool that now it's like coming full circle. You're playing at the Ryman September 19th. Yeah. Though I assume this is not your first time out at the Ryman.
This is not, but I still get nervous every time I walk in the doors. And even now when I go like see shows, I get the feeling of like, you're home. This is the spot.
Yeah.
And I think like working next door and like not even really dreaming of playing there, every time I get the opportunity, it's such an honor that it's exciting and nerve-wracking.
I totally get that. Yeah, and so you're going out on tour starting this Tuesday in support of your newest album, which I wanted to definitely ask you a bunch of questions about because it is fantastic. And I also think it's so interesting. I'm sure other people have asked you this, but I think it's so interesting when someone this far into their career puts out a self-titled album, and it's like that feels always so meaningful to me. And was there a reason you decided to do that now?
Well, not until I named it, until it was self-titled, did I realize that I waited too long to do this because everybody's
too long.
Everybody's pointed this fact out to me.
Okay, yeah.
No, honestly, usually a title appears in the middle of the process, and this one I didn't really have one. And I remember I was playing it for my bass player, shout out Fillmore, and he said, you know, this reminds me the most of the guy I've been hanging out with for 10 years of anything you've ever done. And I'd been contemplating self-titled record, and I was like, okay, that's it. This is it. And I mean, it felt the most deeply personal that work I've done in a long time.
Mm-hmm. And do you know like why that is?
No, I wish I did. I mean, I think I was ready for, you know, like I think you make a few records and as you get farther down, you look back and you're like, maybe I was chasing something on that one or I was scared on that one. And for me, I just wanted to make something that was literally for myself. And I know we're always trying to do that as an artist, but it just felt like I somehow was stumbling upon it in a way that that I hadn't in a long time. Yeah,
I mean, it's easier said than done, I think, like to be like, yeah, of course we want to make something for ourselves, but there's so many pressures and external factors and distractions. And I mean, that's not easy to sit down and really be like, shut all of that out.
No. And I had gone through, it was a really difficult year when I made the record. So there's like family stuff and health stuff. And I couldn't really labor over the record like other times I had. Maybe you grind on a song and as songwriters know, like sometimes just grinding on a song doesn't make it better.
Yeah.
So I kind of just created a space where I was like, this has to be effortless and easy. And if it wasn't, I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the headspace or the emotional capacity, which led to all these kind of very natural, spontaneous moments. There had to be a lot of momentum behind them. And it ended up being a really beautiful creative endeavor because the record kind of feels effortless, and that's because it had to be.
Yeah, that's so interesting that it was just kind of like forced its way into being that.
Yeah, I didn't have the headspace to do anything else.
That's so cool. I actually really like that as a concept. But yeah, so we're talking about Matt Kearney's self-titled album, which came out earlier this summer. And I know you guys brought some guitars. Do you want to play us one from the new album?
Sure, let's do it. Crack a smile, but I'm bleeding inside. Rack up the miles, leaving you behind. Running down a dream while you're standing by this time. Can't get you out of my mind. Leave the light on for me. You know I can't sleep. Running a flat line, heartbeat. Dying to get back to Tennessee. Tears on the telephone. You know I can't let it go. Chasing these white line roads. Taking these headlights home. These headlights home. These headlights home. So the wind in the table tonight. The hungry lovers out, but I got no appetite. The city's writing my letters and lights. This time they don't feel like mine. Leave the light on for me. You know I can't sleep. Running a flat line, heartbeat. Dying to get back to Tennessee. Tears on the telephone. You know I can't let it go. Chasing these white line roads. Taking these headlights home. These headlights home. Leave the light on, leave the light on for me. Leave the light on, leave the light on for me. Leave the light on, leave the light on for me. Leave the light on me. Leave the light on for me. You know I can't sleep. Running a flat line, heartbeat. Dying to get back to Tennessee. Tears on the telephone. You know I can't let it go. Chasing these white line roads. Taking these headlights home. These headlights home. Leave the light on, leave the light on for me. Leave the light on, leave the light on for me. Leave the light on, leave the light on for me. Leave the light on me.
Lightning 100. That is Matt Kearney live here in the Volume.com studio with Headlights Home from the new self-titled album that came out earlier this summer. He is going to be heading out on tour next week, circling back through Nashville September 19th to play at the Ryman with Darren Kiley, and tickets for that are on sale over at Ryman.com. Sounding great this morning. I'm running out of things to say while you're tuning your guitar. But,
No, you're good.
So that song, I think you said you recorded with The Brook and the Bluff, who is some fellow Nashville artists here.
Yes, I was obsessed with their first record and their second one, and I couldn't stop listening to it. It was like my summer album. And the guy that produced it, Micah Talks, who's an amazing producer, engineer in town, I said, I selfishly set up a co-write with him. I was like, Michael, let's write a song. And then I was just asking about the record. I was like, this record, why can't I not stop listening to this? And he's like, you want to make some music like that? I was like, I would love to. He's like, well, let's just get the band to play on it. So, so we called them, and yeah, we ended up being a really special. They ended up playing on 4 or 5 songs, and I'm just a massive fan. It was a big honor to have them play on the record. Yeah,
that's so cool. So do you like usually work with other bands, or is it like, how do you usually record?
Well, I mean, you know, that was made it so fun was it was like I felt like I was in a band for the first time.
Yeah.
Usually when you make a record, you're either playing everything or you're hiring people and they're deferring to you. They're like, what do you want? Like, and you're like, oh, I want this like Sting thing from the 90s, or I want this U2, or I don't know, you're going for a certain thing.
Yes.
And you're leading the charge. But when I got in the room with those guys, the Brook and the Bluff, they were like sweating over the parts. Like they hadn't been in session. So they were like owning everything they did. And it was really beautiful to watch. It was like they were encouraging each other and coming up with parts, and they would kind of defer to me, but they were deferring to themselves mostly, like, do I love this part? And it just ended up being really fun to be a part of that process.
That sounds like such a cool, very like organic approach to recording.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'm the most opinionated guy in the room, and I generally still am, but I was sitting on the couch just like, yeah, that part's awesome. And they'd be like, I don't know, is this good enough? And then Joseph, the lead singer, would be like, you got it, bro, this is awesome. And it was cool to be a part of a little family like that for a creative moment.
And also, like, I mean, we have obviously, especially in Nashville, so many amazing musicians who are used to doing studio sessions, like album recordings. And obviously they're like incredible, but there's probably also something to be said for bringing in people who are not usually the ones doing that. Like maybe just like a kind of different approach and
perspective.
I
mean, there was an innocence and a purity to their approach because they owned the music. I mean, I'm speaking for them. Maybe they hate it. But I mean, they owned it in a way that was really special. And it reminded me of when I first started making music. This record did in a lot of ways. It was like not editing, like turning down the editor and the grinder. It was just following your passion, and that became a theme through the whole thing. And they kind of echoed that feeling I had of like, when I first started writing songs, I just didn't know much. I just was really passionate about it. And I didn't have an editor that was active in my head. I was just, hey, I love this, and I'm putting it out in the world. And I really tried to recover that on this project.
And I think it's really interesting because you mentioned before you played that song that, there was so much going on in your life at the time. It was almost impossible to have that editor.
Yeah.
But I guess, do you think that, like, assuming you're starting the next album at some point in the near future, like, do you feel like you can access that now?
Yeah, that is always the challenge. I think any songwriter that's been doing it long enough, your craft gets good enough, and your skill set, and you learn things, and you know when things should happen, that you can start relying on that. And I think going back to when you didn't have any of those tools and you were following just instinct is like the goal of anybody that's been doing anything for a while. It's like getting back to that place of flow and just childlike abandon and joy to what you're doing. So I do think that I picked up that skill. It is cool having a few more tricks in your bag when you get stuck, like
definitely
as a craftsman, you've learned a few things along the way. But yeah, I think that's always the goal, is to turn the voice, that naysayer in your head down, and just follow your passion and your curiosity.
So in addition to songwriting, you also have like a really cool setup home studio, which I've definitely seen a lot of videos of because we have a mutual friend who I think has been there a few times, Carson plays in your band.
Carson Cody,
shout out.
Resident stylist of the band.
Oh, I mean, resident stylist of, just inspiration of us all.
He's a muse to many people.
Carson, I hope you're listening to this because this is some nice stuff. But so you've got like a pretty cool home studio. Is that where you recorded most of this album?
I did a lot of it. So it was either Micah and the band, we worked at his place, or I did part of why I put my name on it was I produced a lot of it, and I did a lot of it in my studio. I also worked with Mark Sibilia, another Nashville guy. He helped me on a few songs, and Robert Marvin, a guy I've worked with forever, helped me on some stuff. So Trent and Mokita and other guys that are, it was a very Nashville born and bred record.
I was like, we know all these names. Yeah. That's great. But so is this the first time that you've like self-produced part of your album?
No, I mean, I've always been it's become more of a thing over the years. I probably produced a bunch of my last record. I would always get insecure and maybe call someone in at the last hour to like say it's okay, so this was a record where I just kind of ripped the Band-Aid off. Was like, nope, these songs are going to mix, these are done. I don't need someone to tell me they're good. I think they're good. And I've gotten better at it over the years. You learn just how to engineer and record and what things should be and how to simplify things. That was also a massive goal of this record. Like, how can we accomplish a lot with a little? Like I kept listening to like Bob Marley records, and these records that are just, there's not a lot going on, but all the parts are perfect and they work together. So stripping back was a goal. Like how simple can I make it?
Yeah, and it's funny because I was gonna ask you. You mentioned like calling people in to be like, "Is this okay?" Like, like I was wondering because if you're writing these, presumably often alone. I guess that's an assumption that I'm making, but
Sometimes,
then you're
yeah.
self-producing at home for some of these. It's like, how do you know, especially when you're kind of on your own for pieces of it? How do you know when it's done?
Yeah, I don't know. You don't. No great record is finished. They're only abandoned. Someone said that. I think, I don't know. I guess there's a part where you love it, and it's gotten easier to do that over the years. Just to be like, I love this. Like, I don't know what else this could take, or maybe you try something. Usually, what happens is I try that last thing that I'm like, I don't know if it needs this. And you end up muting it, and you're like, nope, it was perfect before.
Yeah, you're like, okay, we went one step too far.
Yeah, like I sent it out, I got lap steel on it, and you're like, no, this ruined it. Like, mute that, okay, and it's done,
Yeah. I've got Matt Kearney live here in the Volume.com studio talking about his new self-titled album that came out earlier this summer and his tour that he is about to head on next week, circling back to Nashville September 19th to headline at the Ryman. That is on sale over at Ryman.com. And I know you're heading out of town next week, but you've done like a decent number of shows over the summer since this album came out. So has it been pretty fun to play these songs live?
This tour has been extra special. It's been received really well, which is always exciting. And yeah, we broke it up in kind of chunks instead of just going out for like 8 weeks. I got little girls at home, and it made more sense to split it up, and I get to be creative and in between the periods. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite a weekend warrior like the country world where they go out Thursday, come home Sunday.
Yeah.
It's more like 2-week runs.
But some middle ground in there.
Like I'm just not gone for 8 weeks. Like,
right.
See you guys.
No, it's crazy. Some people will be gone for like, months at a time. And it's just, it's hard when you got a family at home.
It is. It's the biggest challenge of what we do, but I love it. And this seems manageable.
Yeah. I mean, and it's cool. I mean, do you feel like having like kids and a family now changes the way you write and approach recording as well?
I have less time to do it.
Yeah.
I think that speaks to what we said before. Like, you don't have time to just like sit in your living room and mess with 4 chords for hours. My best writing generally happens in short bursts of inspiration. And I can spend a lot of time just working on something that never is good. I remember the first 2 records ago, I was producing a bunch of songs, and I would spend weeks on a song, and I'd be like, you listen back, you're like, it's not any better than what it was. And only having those moments of like inspiration, you have to really capitalize on them. So yeah, it's influenced that a lot. And
yeah, maybe focused that time more.
Yeah, you just have to commit and go. And like, it's actually a gift in a lot of ways to not have all the time in the world, to have to really just follow your instincts, and when inspiration hits, you got to go. Like, you got to write that second verse. It's always easy to wait to write the second verse. It's the hardest thing to ever write. You're like, oh, it's so good, I could write it later. You're like, nope, we got to finish it right now.
That's really funny. I've never heard that one before.
Oh yeah,
but it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up this morning, you want to play us one more?
Sure. I'll play the one that started it all for me.
Sounding great this morning. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. This is really fun.
Oh, it's an honor. It's my favorite radio station. It's so exciting to come here. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And yeah, Matt Kearney, new album, self-titled album out now. Check that out. And make sure you get your tickets for the Ryman show September 19th with Darren Kiley. That is on sale over at ryman.com. Well, thanks again, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And we got some Suki Waterhouse up now. Here is Super Sad on Lightning 100.